وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. Ya Allah, Engkau Tuhanku, tiada Tuhan selain Engkau. Engkau ciptakan aku dan aku hamba-Mu, dan aku berada dalam janji-Mu menurut kemampuanku. Aku berlindung denganmu daripada kejahatan yang kulakukan. Aku sedari nikmat-Mu kepadaku, dan ku sedari akan dosa-dosaku. Ampuni aku, ampuni aku, ampuni aku, kerana sesungguhnya tiada yang dapat mengampunkan dosa kecuali Engkau. Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa anta خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. Ya Allah, Engkau Tuhanku, tiada Tuhan selain Engkau. Engkau ciptakan aku dan aku hamba-Mu, dan aku berada dalam janji-Mu menurut kemampuanku. Aku berlindung denganmu daripada kejahatan yang kulakukan. Aku sedari nikmat-Mu kepadaku, dan ku sedari akan dosa-dosaku. Ampuni aku, ampuni aku, ampuni aku, kerana sesungguhnya tiada yang dapat mengampunkan dosa kecuali Engkau. Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa anta خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت.
ليس الكلام قبل السلام. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Brothers and sisters, as you know, tonight we have our class. The topic is Let's Talk About Islam, and the title is Written of Islamic Ruling. It is according to Hadith, the book Ahkamus Sultaniyah. Before we go further, let's us read Al-Fatihah. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Arrahmanir rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim. Ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Brothers and sisters, as you know, the program for Wednesday night, we have programs for Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night. That is tonight. So we have the Jom Cinta Quran will have Let's Talk Islam on Wednesday night, and I said before, the hadith we are going to discuss tonight is titled Written of the Islamic Ruling. For tonight, I will ask Ustad a few questions according to the topic we are going to discuss. And brothers and sisters, I hope you can stay until the end of the session. And then I want to Ustad, for tonight, I will ask you a few questions according to the topic tonight, inshallah. Assalamualaikum, Ustad.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
How are you, Ustad?
Alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah,
as
nahnu
usual,
bikhair.
healthy, but as a veteran, your health condition is not 100% perfect. Whatever, we thank to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what Allah has granted us. Alhamdulillah.
I can't hear you well. I have to increase the. Okay, Ustad. My first question is that tonight we are going to discuss about the written of the Islamic ruling, which will follow the written of the Islamic ruling will follow the prophetic method. Can you give us the importance of this method to be discussed?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To all our listeners, Alhamdulillah, praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are able to meet and to discuss in this program that talks about Islam. So, as you mentioned, that we will be discussing about the importance of return of the Islamic ruling, as what been mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We know that we are now living at the end times. So, at the end times is where we must understand it is a time of challenges, lot of challenges that we need to face. And one of the most important thing that we must take note that Rasul SAW mentioned about the will of Islam. Ala rahal Islam da'irah faduru ma'al Islam haythu dar. So the Prophet says that beware the wheel or the rotation of Islam is taking place. So always be with Islam wherever it rotates, whether the wheel you are at the top of the part of the wheel or at the side or at the bottom of the wheel. So you must always be with Islam, never leave Islam at all situation. So we know that the end times is actually closing to very close to Yawmul Qiyamah. So we need to know what is happening to this ummah and what is at what situation we are, so that we can know, plan, act correctly. Because if people don't take note of what is happening, don't give attention in what situation we are living now, they might be trapped into what the enemy of Islam want us to do. So we need to avoid from being trapped into a situation where we are following the wrong path. Indeed, at the end times, the Prophet ﷺ also mentioned about, you know, تفترق أمتي على 73 ملة. This ummah will be divided into more than 73. Will be divided into 73 groups. And the Prophet said that كلهم في نار إلا ملة واحدة. All those are divided, not united. They will be into the hellfire, except one group. There is a guarantee that will be safe. So the Prophet then mentioned that the companions asked, Man here, Ya Rasulullah? Who are the one group that have the chance to be truthful, or who are those people who will be saved from the hellfire? So the Prophet ﷺ says, Ma ana alayhi wa ashabi. So those people who follow the religion of Islam, like what I practice and also my companions practice. So indeed, it is very important for us to know how to save ourselves this dunya and akhirah. So we need to follow the Prophet ﷺ and the companions of the Prophet, and how they grab hold and cling to the rope of Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he mentioned certain thing, it is not uh, by guessing. It is knowledge which Allah SWT has given him. In the Quran, Allah mentioned, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, wa ma atakumur rasul fakhudhuhu." Whatever the Rasul brought it to you, you take it. Wa ma nahawakum anhu fantahu, and whatever the Prophet uh, stop you from taking it, you know, so you must you shouldn't follow it. Okay, what he say, this is not allowed, so we leave whatever things which is not allowed. Okay, and Allah also mentioned that the Prophet, when he talks certain thing, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he mentions certain things, it is not from his personal desire, but it is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has give divine revelation, or the knowledge is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is very important for us to understand that when the Prophet say that the Ummah at one times, you know, they are they are in the bad situation, or they are now in the condition of calamity, but a time will come that the Ummah will be returning back into their glory position. So whatever the Prophet have mentioned, we need to take serious attention, because why? We need to act and plan correctly uh, as we undergo the time which we are living right now. I think that is some, I would say, sharing about the importance of we must know what is the situation is happening to this ummah, so that we will not be carried away by the enemy of Islam planning and also effort to divert us from the teaching of Islam. Yeah, wallahu alam.
Wallahu alam. Jazakallah khairan kathiran Ustaz for the explanation. Uh, return of Islamic ruling. The Islamic ruling will come back as Ustaz mentioned just now. Islam faduru ma'al Islam haitsudar. Go with Islam as it is, whether it is at the top or it's at the bottom. You have to be strong, holding to Islam, holding to the words of Allah. Ustad, for my second question, uh, the discussion tonight is on return of of Islamic ruling. Can you bring us the hadith and the explanation of the hadith, and also what lessons can be taken from the hadith? The hadith is related to the return of Islamic ruling.
Okay, from the kitab of this 60 Sultania, we are now going to refer to the second hadith, that is the prophecy of the return of the Khilafah, that is the Islamic ruling, following the prophetic example. So this hadith is a hadith invention. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala Sayyidina Muhammad. The Prophet ﷺ says, Takunu nubuwah fikum ma sha Allahu an takun. ثم يرفعها إذا شاء أن يرفعها ثم تكون خلافة على منهج النبوة فتكون ما شاء الله أن تكون ثم يرفعها إذا شاء أن يرفع الله إذا شاء الله أن يرفعها ثم تكون ملكا عاضا فيكون ما شاء الله أن يكون ثم يرفعها إذا شاء أن يرفعها ثم تكون ملكا جبرية فتكون ما شاء الله أن تكون ثم يرفعها إذا شاء أن يرفعها ثم تكون خلافة على منهج النبوة ثم سكت. So, صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the general meaning, and there will be the time of prophethood for all, as long as Allah wills it to be, then He will remove it when He wills. Then there will be khilafah on the prophetic method, and it will be for as long as Allah wills, then He will remove it when He wills it. And then there will be a biting kingship for as long as Allah wills, then He will remove it when He wills. Then there will be oppressive kingship for as long as Allah wills, then He will remove it when He wills. Then there will be khilafah upon the prophetic method, and then He remains silent. So this hadith riwayat by Imam Ahmad. Brothers and sisters, let us now look back into this hadith, and I will give some commentary. Okay. So the Prophet ﷺ first mentioned about takunu nubuwah fikum masya Allah أن تكون. The Prophet said that an era of nubuwah. So era of nubuwah means era, period of time where the Prophet SAW still living among the companions, and the Prophet become the leader of the Muslim Ummah. There is the Islamic State already being established after the Prophet SAW have migrated from Mecca to Medina. So in that era where Islam, the Deen of Islam has been established fully in terms of state, Daulah, Daulah Islamiyah. That is the state of Islam. The state of Islam, that is where the Islamic rule, the Islamic Sharia being enforced in total. The Prophet ﷺ become the leader of the Islamic State, and the Islamic State expand the territory. Because why? Because da'wah by the state, and whenever da'wah done, normally the area is being liberated from the control of Jahiliyyah into the control of Islamic law. So the first period will remain as Allah Ta'ala wants or willed. So after some time, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove. The time come, Allah Ta'ala remove this era of prophethood where the Prophet ﷺ passed away. After the Prophet ﷺ death or passed away, so now an era of ثم تكون خلافة على منهج نبوة. So there will be a period of khilafah, that is the Islamic ruling according to the Prophet's way, and it will remain there for some time. Fatakunu masya Allah. So it remains there as Allah wills, you know. So this is the time period of Khalifah Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Khalifah Umar al-Khattab, Khalifah Uthman bin Affan, and Khalifah Ali bin Abi Talib. So this is an era of Khulafa al-Rashidin. So it will there, and after the time comes, Allah ثم يرفعها إذا شاء الله أن يرفعها. So Allah will remove it when Allah wants it. So after the era of the Khulafa al-Rashidin, so now comes to the next stage is that ثم تكون ملكا عظا. So there will be those kingship, you know, and this kingship, they grab hold to the power to their family. So this is, they call it the biting kingship, which means they don't want to let the ruling power being taken over by anyone else except from their family members. At the same time, they enforce, they make sure that the Sharia of Islam being exercised, being practiced. So that's what we saw in the Kerajaan Bani Umayyah, the era of Mulkan Adam, yeah, and also the era of Kerajaan Bani Abbasiyah, that is Abbasiyah kingship. So we know it covers a few hundred years too. And during that time, the Sharia being practiced, yeah, totally. Then after that, an era of Kesultanan, Sultan Osmania, Turkey. So during this kingship of Osmania, Turkey, yes, still the Sharia being practiced, being enforced, but as the Prophet mentioned, it was Mulkan Adam, because the power, ruling power, is being handed over to the families of the Ottoman Empire. But that period of time, it comes to the end After the Ottoman Empire being dragged into the World War One, and in the World War One, the Ottoman Empire was in the losing side, with the central power lose this war, and whichever country lose in the war, so their country, the ruling power is being removed, and all the territory also being taken over for those who win the war. So that's what happened to the Ottoman Empire. The ruling period has was terminated, and Kemal Atatürk took over Turkey and formed up nation states of Turkey and other Muslim land uh, are being divided into under the control of the British, under the control of France, under the control of Russia, under control of those who win the war. Okay, so then come the era of the Rasul Sallallahu says, ثم تكون ملكا جبريا. So then there will be the kingship of those who dictator. What it means by dictator, they force the ummah with the wrong system, not according, not following the Islamic system, but now according to the Western model of nation states, democracy, and there are certain country taking the shape of socialist country. So this is Mulkan Jabaria, which means those kingship, those ruler, they force the people, they enforce the ruling which is not from Islam. They follow the Western model nation states, and some under control of Russia. Then they follow the socialist states, communist socialist state. So this is Mulkan Jabaria. However, this era will not remain forever because the Rasul SAW said that ثم يرفعها إذا شاء يرفعها ثم تكون خلافة على منهج نبوة. So when Allah wills, Allah will remove this kingship, the dictator kingship. Allah will remove. Then Allah will replace an era of khilafah ala minhaj nubuwah. That is the Islamic way of ruling according to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That is the last era that will happen. So this is what we always like to give attention, that we are now in living in the era of Mulkan Jabariyah. And this Mulkan Jabariyah, that is kingship, which is dictator, they will, a day will come, they will lose their power, they lose their ability. And Khilafah, that is the Islamic ruling, according to prophethood way or style of ruling, will take place and will exist. Then after that, Thumma Sakata, then the prophet keep quiet. Because why? That is the last era of the Muslim Ummah, that it will bring glory back to on this dunya. Okay, so the sum of the commentary has been shown that uh, because the commentary mentioned about that uh, there will be no difference in the rule after the Prophet SAW, in the sense that Khilafah after him will be based upon this methodology and follow his example. So there is unity between prophethood methodology and the methodology of the successors in applying the Islamic rule of Islam, with the only difference being the end of revelation, which was completed before the passing of the Prophet. So the era of Khulafa al-Rashidin is the era of replacing the Prophet SAW in terms of leadership and control of the Islamic State. Okay, so I have already mentioned just now when I read through the hadith, you know, uh, the era of biting kingship uh, refers to the misapplication of the taking of the pledge of alliance, which was taken by force and then subsequently handed down by hereditary rule, after then by consent, and as exemplified to us by the example of the Prophet and the first four of the caliphate or Khulafa. So, as mentioned earlier, that this is the era of Bani Umayyah ruling, okay, and also Bani Abbasiyah, and also during the Ottomaniyah ruling. So now we are living in the oppressive kingship. That's why the oppressive kingship is where the people is not being uh, led according to the Islamic ruling. Okay, so the ruler is following the system which is not from Islam, but is taking from the Western world, as what we know, the nation states system. Okay, and the last part of the hadith has been said that the Khilafah is will be re-established, and this is an era that yet to come. Because why? We are living now in the era of oppressive kingship. So that's about all about the hadith. I hope whatever have been mentioned, uh, we have lessons, and also we have understanding of what we're supposed to do, inshallah, during this era of time. Yeah, wallahu alam.
Wallahu alam, jazakallah Ustaz for the explanation and also for reading the hadith about the ruling, the return of the Islamic ruling. Before we go further, I want to read comments from our friends, our audience. Okay, first of all, we have, who's that? Salsabil. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam. Mori mori. Assalamualaikum Ustazah. And she said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. And then from Alidin Alias in at Facebook. Assalamualaikum Ustaz and Ustazah. And also our friends Jom Cinta Quran. From Huzaifa Anas. Also at Facebook. Assalamualaikum Ustaz and Ustazah. Thanks for sharing. Waalaikumsalam. Uh, thanks for sharing. You are most welcome. And we have Daya Anas there, the last person who gave comment. Assalamualaikum Ustaz and Ustazah and Ustaz Tajuk. Oh, saja yang sangat menarik. Semoga sahabat-sahabat Jom Cerita Quran beroleh manfaat, insyaAllah. Okay, Ustaz, I'll go for the last question tonight for you. That is question 3. Based on teachings from this hadith, what action to be from us to be taken? That is, what should we do today in relation to our dakwah work? Okay, according to the hadith, uh, at the, there will be 5 times, times different times, and the last one will be sumatakun wa khilafa ala min haji nubuwah. So with that, what should we do? Ustaz?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Uh, Brothers and sisters, Muslim and Muslimat, when we have understand from the hadith that the era which we are living now is the era of Mulk and Jabariyah, and the next era that the Prophet mentioned will be taking place is Khilafah ala minhaj nubuwah. That is the ruling of the state according to the Prophet way of managing the state. So once we have this understanding that there's the ruling of Islam according to the Prophet method will take place, first we should make an effort to learn how does the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the companions rule according to the Islamic Sharia. Today, we know very well the Muslim country are being managed, the rulers are following the nation state system. That is according to the Western model. Nation states started in 1648 in Europe, because in Europe they also fighting between many those in power, until they realize that if they don't start to acknowledge the authority in one area or in one country with the authority of other country, so the war will be ongoing. So that's why they come to the idea of nation states, so that every nation have their own boundary and also have their own way of ruling, and they have international relationship. So the Western model of nation states was brought into the Muslim Ummah, I will say, after the World War One. So it has been practiced since then until today, especially when the Muslim country or land has been liberated or given independence. So the Muslim the Muslim I say the Muslim area or Muslim states, they are being given independence, but they need to follow the Western model. So until today, that has been ongoing. So when we anticipate, when we know that the Prophet Hasan says, a time will come, the ruling according to Islamic way, Khilafah ala minhaj nubuwah, will be written back. So which means we need to learn, we need to understand how to re-establish the way of the Islamic ruling, and also how to conduct it when it is already in position. So all this needs knowledge. The knowledge need to be shared, and of course the ulama, people call it the Islamic scholars, and they should play a role to educate the ummah. And the ummah also need to learn, so that when they have the knowledge about this, they can become check and balance to those in power. So definitely the ulama need to train, need to teach, need to educate those in power how to do the ruling, how to manage the country according to Islamic Sharia law. So as we know today, the Muslim Ummah is being divided into more than 50 nation states country, which very weak, and the Muslim Ummah now not united, and they're being controlled by the Western system. So it is high time that the Muslim Ummah and also the Muslim ulama, you know, demand those in power, that's Umara, so that they learned the details of how the Sharia Islam uh, guide in managing the Ummah, in managing the country, in managing the resources, and in managing the external policy And also, of course, the education systems is very important, need to be corrected so that it will educate the ummah effectively to understand Islam correctly. In today's world, we know that the, the education system is a secular education system. What does it mean by secular? They they does they the ruling or those in power is not following the Sharia. So life, the managing of the daily life is not following the Sharia law. So they're being separated. So this is they call Fasluddin Anil Haya. They separate the deen from the daily life of the ummah of the people. So this cannot be remain forever. It need to be changed. That's why to make changes, it is an effort because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran that inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the situation, the condition of the group of people until these people they make effort to make changes. So need to manage the change. Allah will not grant if people does not put the correct effort. But when we put the correct effort in this da'wah, we put the correct effort to re-establish back the Islamic way of life, Allah will help, inshallah. Because Allah promised in one ayah, Allah mentioned, "In tansurullah yansurkum." If you help to to protect the deen of Allah, Allah will definitely help you. So we want Allah Ta'ala help us so that with the help of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, then only we will gain victory. We will able to achieve what being instructed to us, what being commanded to us by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So, brothers and sisters, in making effort in this da'wah work, the most important is that people need to be brought back to the teaching of Quran. Yeah? The Prophet SAW did mention about Allah anna al-kitab wa sultan sayaftariqan fala tufarikul kitab. The Prophet mentioned, be aware, indeed, this book, that is kitab, that's Al-Quran, and sultan, that is the power, ruling power. Sayaftariqan, they both will be separated. Now, in reality, we know Quran is still available, but those ruling power in the Muslim world is not following the Quran accordingly. So the Prophet mentioned, "Fala tufariqul kitab." Never you depart or separate yourself from the kitab, which means grab hold to the kitab of Allah, grab hold to the Quran, study it, and make da'wah so that those in power, the ruling power, they need to be following the Quran again, not being separated anymore. So, which means the Muslim Ummah need to work so that Quran and the ruling power is united back and not separated. And all this need knowledge, definitely. Because why? With the knowledge, then only we can convince mankind. We can change the mindset, the thinking process. Then, with the change in mindset and thinking, they will make the correct decision. And with the correct decision, inshallah, then it will be leading us to victory and successful. So all these also need to be worked in terms of jama'ah, which means we have to be working hand in hand, working together, working, supporting one another. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, "Talzamu jama'at al-muslimin wa imamahum." You need to be together with the jama'ah, with the group of kaum Muslimin and their leaders. Because why? Once we are united, we help one another as Allah asks, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. We help one another on the goodness and for taqwa, and don't help one another uh, in terms of sinful matters, and also animosity, mana fighting fighting one another. No, we should be united instead of fighting or being separated. So it is a time of action. It is not only talk, but everyone have to put effort. Everyone have to contribute. Because why? Because things will happen as what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. Things will happen. So we need to become contributor. We contribute. Don't become people who just, observe, just look and do nothing. But let us contribute, because why? Whatever we contribute, inshallah, it will become amal saleh and amal jariyah. So there will be rewards, non-stop rewards for those who put effort into this da'wah to revive back the Islamic way of life as a whole. As Allah mentioned in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fis silmi kafa. Or those who believers, you enter into Islam totally, which means practice and establish the way of life in Islam in total. Then Allah Ta'ala will grant us all the goodness in this dunya and so this akhirah. I think that's about all which I like to share about what we should do when we heard about the hadith. Okay, hopefully what have been mentioned, it is fruitful, and it is a lesson for us to share with the others too. So whatever we have mentioned and here, it is actually for us to share with others, inshallah. I think that's about all for tonight. Alhamdulillah. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Jazakallah Ustaz. Jazakallah khairan kathiran Ustaz for the explanations and for all the answers to the questions I give you for tonight. Inshallah, we will come back. We will come back on Monday night next week. And for the meantime, I'll finish this session with Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.